It was a sunny afternoon, one of those rare days when everything felt calm. I had just graduated from college, my cap still in my hand, my diploma safely tucked under my arm. My phone buzzed with messages from friends, family, professors, all congratulating me. And then I got one from my mom. "Mom." I texted back, excitement bubbling. "Did you see the ceremony photos?" A few minutes later my phone rang. It was her. "I'm so proud of you," she said, her voice warm and full of emotion. "You've worked so hard. You deserve everything." I smiled. Finally. A moment where my mom, who I'd always craved approval from, said exactly what I wanted to hear. I could feel my chest swell. "Thanks, Mom," I replied, my voice shaky with happiness. "It means a lot coming from you." Her voice softened. "I love you," she said. I hung up, feeling lighter than I had in years. My friends were still congratulating me, but now, with my mom's words in my head, the day felt perfect. I couldn't wait to see her later that evening. I got home that night excited to share my joy in person. But when I walked through the front door, the energy felt... My dad was absent, which wasn't unusual. My mom, however, looked serious, tense, almost defensive. "Mom?" I asked, a little uneasy. "Everything okay?" She handed me an envelope, thick and official looking. I looked at it, confused. There was no smile, no note, no explanation. "What's this?" I asked. She avoided my eyes. It's from my lawyer," she said softly. I opened it. My hands were shaking, still trembling from the earlier conversation. As I unfolded the paper, I couldn't believe what I was reading. "You have been legally disowned by your parents." I dropped the letter. My chest tightened. My vision blurred. I read it again, thinking my eyes were playing tricks on me. But it wasn't a trick. My mother had just handed me a legal document saying I was no longer her child. "Mom, what? Why?" I whispered, my voice breaking. She sighed. "I told you I was proud of you. That was real. But this is a legal matter. You're being disowned. I've signed it. It's done." I could feel my knees weaken. The room was spinning. My mind screamed, what did I do? But she continued, almost apologetically. "It's about the estate, the family business. Everything. We had to make decisions for the future. It's not personal." "Not personal?" She had just taken away my identity as her child. "Not personal." Those words made my stomach turn. Growing up, I had always known I was different from my siblings. My younger brother and sister were the successful ones, always praised, always celebrated. I was often ignored or quietly criticized. But I had never imagined it would go this far, being erased from the family entirely. All my life, I had craved my mother's approval. I had worked hard, tried to make her proud, achieved milestones, and hoped that she would finally see me as a daughter worth loving. No. All that pride she claimed in the phone call felt meaningless. I sat on the floor, staring at the letter. The house that had been my home suddenly felt foreign. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and deeply, deeply alone. I called Emily, my best friend who had always been my anchor. She listened quietly as I explained what had happened. By the time I finished, she was crying too. "Don't let them define your worth," she said finally. "They don't get to decide who you are. You've earned everything on your own." Her words hit me like a lifeline. In that moment, I realized something crucial. My identity didn't have to come from them. I could define myself. I could belong to myself first, and everything else could follow. That night, I packed a small bag. I didn't have a plan, but I knew I had to leave. I left the house I grew up in, the place I had once considered safe, and stepped into a world that was suddenly unknown but mine to navigate. I found a small apartment, quiet and private. I worked multiple jobs, started saving, and focused on building a life that was independent of my family's control. I enrolled in courses, learned skills, and began creating a career that belonged to me, not tied to the legacy they tried to protect or manipulate. Every day I reminded myself, their disowning didn't erase my achievements, my dreams, or my identity. If anything, it lit a fire in me to prove to myself that I could thrive without their approval. Months turned into a year. I started to see the results of my hard work. I was promoted at my job, gaining respect and recognition for my skills. Friends and mentors began to become my chosen family, supporting me in ways my biological family never had. I realized that belonging didn't have to come from blood. It came from being valued, respected, and loved. I began volunteering with children who, like me, felt invisible at home. Helping them feel seen reminded me of the worth I had always possessed, even when my parents refused to acknowledge it. I found purpose in showing them that their value didn't depend on someone else's approval. Every smile, every hug, every small achievement of theirs was a quiet reminder that I could build family and love from the life I created. Then, unexpectedly, my mother called. My heart froze. I wasn't sure whether to feel anger, hope, or disbelief. I just wanted to check. "How are you?" she asked softly. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to scream to remind her of the pain she had caused. But another part, stronger now, wanted nothing from her. I wanted to live my life on my own terms. "I'm doing well," I said firmly. "I've built a life I'm proud of." Her voice trembled. I hope you know you're always my daughter." I swallowed. Those words, unspoken for so long, felt strange. But I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I had built a life that was fully mine. Independent, strong, and full of people who truly cared about me. I continued focusing on myself. I started saving money, investing in my skills, and even moved to a neighborhood that I loved, surrounded by people who valued me for who I was. I traveled when I wanted, celebrated milestones my way, and created traditions that my family of choice could enjoy. Every time I thought about the lawyer's letter, I no longer felt broken. I felt alive, strong, and capable. That letter, once a symbol of humiliation, became a reminder of my resilience. They had tried to erase me, but I had rewritten my story, my identity, and my life. I also made peace with my siblings over time. My brother and sister were still close to our parents, but I no longer felt the need to compete or seek approval. My worth wasn't measured by what they gave me, or didn't give me. I learned that comparison only stole joy, and I refused to let that happen anymore. I celebrated holidays with friends and mentors who had become my family. Birthdays, graduations, weddings, and even small victories were moments I shared with people who appreciated me fully. I watched my life grow richer, not because of inheritance or validation from my parents, but because of the love and respect I cultivated myself. One day, as I was volunteering, a young girl tugged at my sleeve. "You make me feel like I matter," she said softly. My heart clenched. Those words reminded me of the little girl I once was, wanting to be seen, to be loved, to belong. And now here I was, showing her that she could create her own world of value. That was the moment I realized the full power of what I had built. Years later, I occasionally hear about my parents' lives or family celebrations. Sometimes I feel a flicker of what I thought I would feel, longing, regret, or sadness, but I quickly remind myself, belonging is not given. Belonging is created. And I have created a life full of connection, love, and respect. The day the lawyer handed me that letter could have broken me. It could have left me defeated, bitter, and lost. Instead, it became my catalyst. It pushed me to find strength I didn't know I had, to build a life independent of their approval, and to surround myself with people who saw my worth without conditions. I survived their rejection. I thrived. I belong finally in a world I chose, not in a life they dictated. I no longer needed their pride. I had found my own.